Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danae and this is my art room. I'm so glad you've decided to join me today. I am going to be doing another Color Cube Volume 1 by Sarah Renae Clark painting today, and it is number 9. This is not my favorite color palette, but I'm going to give it a try. These are a lot of primary colors, and yeah, we'll see what happens here. So for my dark blue today, I have this Prussian blue by Lucas. For my steel blue, I have primary blue by Abstract. Taupe, I have no taupe. And I hate this color. I'm sorry if you love this color. I'm sure you know how to use it well. Browns are not my favorite. So I am making an executive decision and I am substituting taupe for copper. So that'll be fun. For raspberry, I have vermilion. And for mustard, I have this fern, which this mustard has green in it. So I bought this little Dina Wakley paint, which is called mustard, but it is too orange. It's this is more yellow ochre, and this has a lot of green, gold. This is kind of a golden mustard. So I'm still going to use this in other videos, but I thought I would try out fern, which has some of that green in it. So it's a kind of a green yellow. I have some fun little additional tools. This is a tempera paint stick. And I have some NeoColor II crayons, which are water soluble. And I thought I would use my new stencils. I recently purchased these. This is a Dina Wakley stencil called Bumps, which is adorable. I'm excited to use that. And I have this one from Cat Rains, which is Circle Matrix, and that's a 6x6. So I'm excited to use that. And I also pulled out my 3x5 jelly plate. I thought maybe I could try some stamping. I don't know, it's here just in case. And I am going to do another just a color palette. I've taped this into 4 sections. So I've done this one, was another Color Cube challenge. This was the palette over here. And this is a style of play that I've used many times in the past. Oop, that one's not so pretty. With different color palettes. These have not been filmed. These were just ones I made for fun on my own. These are not Color Cube palettes. So anyway, that's what we're going to do today, and see what sort of abstract, beautiful creation we can create. And I will catch you at the end. So I'm going to start with my favorite. I love mark making shapes, adding color. It's always interesting to me to see what comes through at the end. A lot of this will be covered up, but it helps me get started thinking about shapes, thinking about the shape of the little palettes, each mini grid, and how much space I have. It helps me think about what shapes I can make, what's interesting, what I like, what I don't like. It's a great little warm-up. I'm just coming back over it now with some acrylic It's titanium white. And I love the way that it makes those crayons kind of smear as I stretch that paint over the marks. Those NeoColor II crayons are water soluble, so until they're fixed, they will continue to move. So adding the acrylic paint on top, because acrylic is kind of a plastic, it will help to set some of that color. And then I just scratched in with a skewer. Now I'm coming in with my darkest color because I'm thinking in my head that I'm going to add and layer the color from darkest to light. I want to be very careful. This palette is primary colors, so the blue and the red are going to make purple if they're mixed, and the yellow and the red are going to make orange if they're mixed. And I want to try to stay really true to the color palette and not mix the colors. So I have to be really thoughtful about the way that I add the colors, and I have to let this first layer of blue dry before I can add the other colors on top. And the blue and the yellow, of course, will also make green. So all of these primary colors are going to mix if they are wet, and I don't want them to mix. So here I'm just adding the color palette to the side. I like doing this so that in the future I can look back and see what colors I've used. And maybe, do I like the palette? Do I like what I've created? Have I done anything interesting? I'm now going to use my jelly plate here. It's my little mini plate as a stamp. I'm just going to paint some random shapes onto it and stamp it right onto the page. This is a great way to add some interest to your paintings. It has some random qualities to it, which are really nice. And depending on how thick or how thin you put the paint down on the jelly plate to transfer, it's going to come up thick or thin once you've stamped it. So it's quite thick up there in that top right hand corner, so I keep going back and trying to just restamp it. So I'm adding the red, and you can see because the blue dried that I'm not getting purple. So far so good. And I'm coming back in with that Prussian blue because now that the blue has dried, I feel like it's quite transparent, and I want to add the depth and the that dark blue so that I have some contrast. I have some light areas, I have some dark areas. A lot of these colors on their own are just kind of mid-tones, which don't make the painting very interesting. You want, or I want, the contrasting layers and colors. So while I'm letting now the red dry, because I want to add some yellow and I don't want to make orange or green, I'm going to now just add my labels to these little circles, and I write out the name and the color of each paint so that I can remember what I used. I've realized over the last few videos that I've made that my phone will randomly stop. And I think it's because it's overheating. Right now, when I'm filming this, it's August. I live where it's very hot, and my phone stopped working. Luckily, I didn't get too far before I noticed the change. And here I'm doing essentially what you've missed, except that now I've added white to my yellow to make it a lighter yellow. I feel like the colors are all very similar. They're all in this kind of mid-tone. And I thought if I added some white to the paint, it might brighten up the page. When I paint, my paintings often go through an ugly stage. And it can be very daunting to witness So buckle in because you're about to witness my paintings go through the ugly stages. I decided that I wanted to do something bold, and I thought this stencil, which has very straight lines and very clear angles, would contrast really interesting with all the circles, and it did not do that. So I did like the copper on top of the blue, and so I've added that here with this cute little bumps stencil, and it was much more successful. And I like these bumps. This is a new stencil for me. So I add some more bumps up here at the top. I've gone back to my blue and there's still copper on that brush. So it's created this really interesting color, and it's a nice color value. So I was happy with it. But, I should have known when to stop. I'm feeling a little bit desperate right now in my creation process. It's so dark. There's so many values that are the same, and I decided I really wanted some white. So I went back to my stamp transfer and it was a disaster. I mean, it transferred great. The products worked great, but what on earth was I thinking? I don't know. It's so ugly, you guys. I go ahead and wipe this out. It's just the ghost, so the paint was quite thin, and I just used water to wipe it out. But that one on the top right now, it's going to have to dry before I address it. And I think this is where I just start to make some desperate choices. I'm not happy with what I've got. Several things have gone wrong, and I'm just getting desperate. So, in my desperation, I make more bad choices. But I have to say that each layer informs the next layer. So I had to go through these ugly phases in order to get to the final product, because those awful white marks are eventually going to inform other marks that I make on that painting. And hopefully better marks. And here I decide to just paint out some of the craziness. It's very busy, there's lots and lots of marks, and I think I just chicken out because blue is like a safe color for me. And I've really just in my head I've messed up the other sides. So blue was a safe choice. And here I'm just scratching in with the skewer, and I really immediately like that. But you can see the paint has already dried. It dried so fast that I end up really having to scratch in hard to get down through that blue layer to the layers underneath. And I grab my palette knife to even help me do it. And when I get to this little bump there, I pull up the paint all the way down to the paper, which I didn't want, but that's going to make a difference pretty soon on this side. I don't know what I'm thinking. You guys, I send help. Seriously, I don't know what's happening there. So I decide up here to do some stacked stones. This is a technique that I've used in the past when things have gotten ugly, and it's been very successful. In fact, I did Christmas cards this way once, where I did these crazy abstract paintings, lots of color, red and green and gold, and all kinds of fun marks. And then I took a tree-shaped stencil and put it in the middle of the painting and then painted out all the edges white like I'm doing now, so that when I took away the tree shape, then the outside was white and inside was all the color. And it was very successful. So I'm hoping that doing some stacked stones is going to be the answer I need to solve this problem on my top right here. And then I decided the white was too stark. I wanted it a little bit warmer. So this is just titanium white with a tiny bit of that fern. And it created a nice warm color. I'm not convinced that it's saved this painting, and I'm honestly getting more upset and more frustrated. And here you're gonna see me do some angry painting. Oh, I'm just so angry with this painting. And I'm starting to think this is ruined. I'm not going to be able to publish this video. No one is going to be able to watch me make these awful, ugly paintings. And I'm scratching in with this pencil now. And like I can see the desperation that's coming. So as I'm scraping, I start pulling up the paint to the paper layer, which I had just experienced on the other side, only this time I embrace it. And I didn't realize I was off camera. So a lot of it gets missed, but I am literally just pulling up to the paper layer. So getting rid of as much of that painting as I can. Like I said, it was an act of desperation. And here I am taking the sandpaper. I'm literally deconstructing this in an act of desperation. And here I've pulled off more of the paint layers. And acrylic is plastic. So it it moves, and you can scratch it and you can pull it and you can sand it. And I think I worked out all of my anger issues on that painting and found some peace. So here was a bit that I had pulled off, and I'm going to use it as a collage element on this other side, which I thought was really fun. And so now I'm starting to feel like there's hope. So I decide to seal this little painting here. I don't want the edges to continue to rip and fray. So the matte medium is also a glue. So I'm using it to fix down those torn edges, and it will allow me, if I choose, to paint on top of it. I could also add some clear gesso. Ultimately, I decide to leave it. I felt like I was exhausted by that little square, and it was time to remove the tape and see what the heck I have done. I like to keep the tape that's been painted on because they are also little works of art. And, this type of tape can be used as washi tape as well. So that's kind of fun. But because this is, it's also part of the color palette, it has its own unique little artistic value. So I like to keep it. And I just put it on the side, especially the middle one. The middle one has a lot of paint on it. And I don't do anything special to remove the tape. This artist tape is really good. I didn't seal the edges when I initially put the tape down, so you can see there are a couple of areas where it bled underneath the tape, but that's all right. I'm happy to be done at this point. And actually, they didn't turn out bad. Here's the finished product. I did add some circles on my stones. This is the piece with the added bit of collage. Here is the deconstructed painting. I actually don't mind it. You can see the outlines in crayon that I used there, and some extra little marks on this one in bronze. And here's the finished color palette. I think I did all right. It was a long journey. It was very stressful, but I just want to encourage you, don't give up when things get ugly because you never know what beautiful art is going to come.